Hi, everyone. This is Jillian from Jewish Workshops, and I am thrilled to be joining all of you today, and we are extremely privileged to have Rabbi Manis Friedman on the line with us. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from, so please go to your question box and write your name and where you're from so that I can go ahead and welcome you. If you're more comfortable just writing your initials, that's fine too, but I would love to be able to see who's joining us and where from the world you're joining us from. Welcome H from England and Rena from Seattle. Welcome Deanne from Ohio, YF from Muncie, Leah from Jerusalem, Sarah from New Jersey. Welcome CJ. Hi. Welcome Yulia from Switzerland. Rob from New Jersey, Nikki from Jerusalem, Razy from Muncie, Panina from Spain, Faggy from LA. Welcome Ariella from Jerusalem and H from New York. Shimon from Philadelphia, Eva from San Diego, Menachem from New York, S from Long Island, D from Israel, Haley from South Africa, Rifka Khana from Jerusalem. Welcome to all. Esty from Muncie, David from Saddle River. Welcome S from Jerusalem and David from Brooklyn, Dennis from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Welcome. B from Canada, Leanne from Edmonton, Canada, CK from Toronto. Welcome. People continue to flood in from all over the world. This is so wonderful to see. As you continue to come in, please keep in mind that with over 1,500 people signed up to be part of today's interactive experience, we are likely to hit capacity. So please don't leave in the middle because you'll very likely be left out, and there is so much to go over today. If this is your first time on a webinar, you'll notice that the audience is muted, but you'll still have full access to see and hear Rabbi Friedman throughout the workshop. This just means that we can't hear, all of the audience's background noise. Plus, you'll be able to interact and ask questions through this question box right on the right-hand side of your screen where you're writing your name right now. I've got a few more people to welcome. So welcome Ellen from Geneva and Jay from New York. So wonderful to see you too. As people continue to flood in, welcome to all. I'm sorry I can't get to every single name here. A&S from New Jersey, welcome. It is so great to see everybody. Rabbi Friedman will also address as many questions as possible live on the line today. We love making the webinars as interactive as we can, so please don't hesitate to share your questions in the question box and be patient. We will get to as many as possible at the end. Today's webinar is just the beginning. Together, we will be starting a journey towards bringing Shalom into our relationships, our marriages, and our homes. As Rabbi Friedman will shortly explain, no matter how stuck, discouraged, or lonely we feel in our personal situations, there is a way out. So make sure to stay on the line so you don't miss the opportunity to get your personal questions answered. Plus, you'll get the unique opportunity to join Rabbi Friedman for a full series delving into the critical secrets to creating and cultivating a healthy, happy, and lasting marriage through the essential keys to Shalom Bayis. It is truly an honor to be hosting Rabbi Friedman today. Rabbi Friedman is a world-renowned author, counselor, lecturer, and philosopher who uses ancient wisdom and modern wit as he captivates audiences around the world. With over 150,000 copies of his provocative yet entertaining tapes, both audio and video, have been sold, and his widely praised book, Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore, is in its 4th printing. Rabbi Friedman has also been featured internationally in over 200 print articles and interviewed on more than 50 television and radio talk shows. We look forward to joining you, Rabbi Friedman, today. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. How is everything?
Thank you. It's a thrill. I love doing this, and you're giving me a whole new platform, and what we're going to accomplish is going to be fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Why don't we go ahead and get started?
Let's get started. Okay. So why are we talking? Why are we all here? Obviously, there's need for improvement in our marriages, in our relationships, in our intimate life. In general, as a general rule, we wear 2 hats. We have our public self, our social self, and then we have our private, personal self. We're very well trained, I think, in this generation in our social skills. We've come out of the ghetto, so to speak. We're quite cosmopolitan. We do well in our public relations, but we've kind of neglected the other hat, the other side of our lives, the more personal one. So much of our personal life has become public, has become part of our social pattern. So there is a need to re-examine the entire area, the life that we don't go public with, the life that we don't share with strangers, what's going on there. Now, one thing we know for sure, and although it's shocking, there's no room for doubt. Love is not the solution. Can we agree on that? We've tried it. We've tried it desperately. Any unhappy couple, we assume there isn't enough love. There's got to be more love. Any unhappy child, not loved enough. There's got to be more love. If there was more love in the world would be perfect, marriages would be perfect, children would grow up happy. Everything would be good if we just had more love. We've really tried that, and it's not the answer. Part of the reason is because love can be very selfish. We're convinced that the need for love is as urgent as the need for food. We've been taught, we've been trained this way. You can't go without food, you cannot go without love. It's an essential, indispensable human need, and if you have it, you're healthy. If you don't have it, you're in trouble. But when the love is selfish, like eating, when I eat to ease my hunger, no one else benefits from it. In fact, nobody else even knows when I'm hungry or when I'm not hungry, unless I growl when I'm hungry. Only I feel my hunger. It's a completely personal, not interpersonal thing. And so it can be very selfish. A person eating can be greedy, can tune the whole world out because he's hungry and he's eating and he has to have his food and he has to have it a certain way and it's got to be in a certain, the whole Jackie Mason routine. The same can be true with love. I need love, I need it now, I need more, I need it this way. You don't love me the way I want you to love me, you're loving me the other way, and that's not the way I want. Love can actually destroy a relationship. So how do we understand love properly? Love is the feeling with which, it's like the spirit or the spice with which you sweeten a relationship. But love itself is not a relationship. Or in different words, when someone is important in your life, you ought to love them. If they're not important and you love them, they're still not important. If you don't love them and they are important, then they remain important with or without your love. So the mitzvah to love your fellow Jew is because Jews are precious, not because love is precious. The mitzvah to love God is not because God needs love. It's because God is essential, God is important, God is an indispensable part of your life. You should love him. It's the appropriate feeling, not the most important feeling. What then is the most important feeling? Let's get right down to the heart of it. The one thing that marriage should accomplish is that people married should never feel alone in the world. That feeling of aloneness, which we will of course talk about, is even physically dangerous. It weakens your immune system when you feel alone. There's an old song that was very popular back in the 70s, I believe. And one of the lines is really, really meaningful. The line is, there are two people sitting at the bar sharing a drink called loneliness, but that's better than drinking alone. Interesting line in the song. And I never understood it. Not that it really bothered me. It's just a song. But now that I think about what's missing in our marriages, I realize there's so much wisdom to that. There is loneliness, and then there's being alone. Very different, very different. You can share a drink called loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. So you can go to a party, you can go to an event, you can talk to people. You're not lonely for the moment. But when you come home to an empty house, you're alone, much worse than lonely. And that is cured, that aloneness, only in marriage. What I realized recently in marriage counseling is that the problems between husband and wife are different today than they were 30 years ago. 30 years ago, the problems between husband and wife is that they didn't like each other. They disagreed on too many things. They were intolerant of each other's differences. And so they fought, and they were nasty, and there was hate. So what do you do in marriage counseling? You patch it up. You get them past the hate, past the complaints, past all the irritations. What's happening in marriages today, what we would have called a successful marriage 30 years ago, because it's functional, nobody's complaining, everybody's doing what they ought to be doing, and so it's a successful marriage. And yet when you speak to them individually, the husband or the wife, they will complain that they feel alone in the world. That was shocking. Because at the very least, marriage is supposed to take away that feeling. Never, never alone. If your spouse is on the other side of the planet, you're lonely. You are not alone in the world because you're married. There's another half to you. That's what marriage has to accomplish at the very least. There's another thing about marriages today, and that is the quality. It may be functional, but somehow the quality of the marriage is not what it should be. And that kind of puts a damper on the whole thing. Marriage should forever be sacred, awesome. It should be something you treat with utter, absolute respect and care. It is the most precious, the most delicate thing in your life. And it should feel that way. It should sound that way. Just a simple example. When we were growing up, there was a time we were laughing about it as children. We weren't sure what my mother's first name was. Because, we wouldn't call her by her first name, obviously. But my father hardly ever called her. Because when he wanted to talk to her, he would go to where she was. And that's why when I hear couples at home calling to each other from the other side of the house. It grates. It sounds wrong. It's inappropriate. It's too familiar. It's too plain. It's like, that's not the way you talk to a spouse. There's a quality missing there. You want to talk to each other, do it with the proper respect. You know, I'm not even talking about the vulgar expressions like "get over here," which is completely foreign and should never happen in a marriage. But even you know, the impatient calling, like, "Where are you? Where are my shoes?" That tone, it's not even the words, it's the tone that is so inelegant and therefore not good enough for a marriage. The way couples talk to each other should have a quality to it that you don't see anywhere else. It should certainly not be ordinary. It shouldn't be like every other conversation, and it shouldn't be any less. So here's the picture, the ideal that we're not only looking for, but in real need of. We can live without love, but you cannot live being alone in the world. That's got to go. It's a health hazard. Here's what a marriage should feel like. When you're married, you have established your home. When you come home, that might be the most powerful word in the language. Home. I mean, if you think about it, the significance of that word, the feelings that generates. Home. Here I tell you this perfect example. When the Israeli soldiers broke into the hall in the airport in Entebbe to save the hostages. The hostages had been there for a long time. The soldiers come in, they eliminate the terrorists, and then what do they say to these poor people who have been tortured with uncertainty for so long, didn't know what was going to happen to them? What did the soldiers say intuitively, instinctively, in the heat of the moment? They didn't say, "We've come to rescue you. We love you." They said the most perfect, the best, the most appropriate words possible. They said, "Let's go home." There's nothing more powerful or more appropriate. So the word home should bring the most pleasant, the most pleasurable responses, emotionally, spiritually, physically even. Home. So here's what home should feel like. When you come home, you are where you belong. That is an amazing feeling in itself. I am where I belong. My place, meaning the place I belong. I am doing, by being home, I am doing exactly what I am supposed to be doing. And I'm doing it with the person that I'm supposed to be with. That's a moment of perfection. Usually, wherever we are, we have doubts, we can wonder, is this where I should be? Are there so many other places I could be, maybe should be? Why here? What am I doing here? I'm not asking the big cosmic question of why am I here? Where am I, and where else could I go, and what else could I be doing, and with whom could I be doing it? So when you come home, and this is your place, this is it, no doubt. This is it. This is your place. And what you're doing, whoa, this is exactly what you need to be doing. If God comes and says, what are you doing? Your answer is very confident. I'm taking care of my family. No shame in that. And who am I doing it with? The person I'm meant to be with. My spouse. Let's put it in a little slightly different words. When you're home, there's no other place you'd rather be. None. What you're doing at home, there's nothing else you'd rather be doing. Nothing. Nothing competes, nothing compares. And the person you're with, there's no one else you'd rather be with. When's the last time you had that feeling? When's the last time you walked into your home and it felt like you had gone to heaven? Because that's what it should feel like. Whatever happens on the street, at work, in school, and in shul, whatever happens there, it's important, it's significant, it's good, it's fine. That's not it. When you come home, that's it. That's what home should feel like. Imagine the reverse. I don't even want to describe it. Coming home and none of that feeling is there. That's the opposite of heaven. So this tone that I was talking about, the elegance, if that's what your home is, if it's that powerful, if it's that true, that real, shouldn't it be treated with greater dignity, with greater respect? I'm not talking about respecting each other. That's another subject that we'll talk about. I'm talking about respecting the institution, respecting the marriage, the home, and of course, the people involved in the home. That's different than the interpersonal respect that we have to give each other. So another example would be the little infidelities that we are guilty of. Like the joke about if the kids are misbehaving, then they're your kids, not mine. That attitude that when there's a problem, I'm not the one who is responsible or is even suffering. It's your problem. That's an infidelity. Like a simple example, a guy is sitting in a restaurant with his wife and others, and he's a bit of a klutz, and he spills the wine all over the table and himself, or the hot coffee. And the wife turns to the other people at the table and rolls her eyes as if, what's with this guy? Suddenly, she has a little conspiracy with the others, and he is alone at the table. It's, like the joke, like, do I know him? Or another typical, a husband and wife go shopping in the supermarket, and they get to the cash register, and the wife can't find her credit card. And the husband turns to the cashier and says, she always does this. I mean, he may be saying it as a joke, but it's an infidelity. The wife is in an uncomfortable, embarrassing moment, and you stepped away. You did not participate. Oh no, this is not my problem. I know where my credit cards are. That is so inappropriate. So these things that marriage deserves, it's not even a fault in the people. It's maybe a lack of respect for the institution of marriage, for the awesome perfection. God arranged this marriage. God brought you together. God gave you a home, established you as a reality in your own world, and you take it lightly. It's just not appropriate. It doesn't work. Not because somebody's going to complain. The marriage will complain. This doesn't feel like a marriage. So if you're nice, if you're thoughtful, if you're responsible, like a mensch, you're doing everything right. But somehow the marriage is not any different than your other relationships in which you're also a mensch. So your spouse can't complain. Nothing's wrong. You don't misbehave. Why then do they feel alone? What is this aloneness? How do we get rid of it? This is essential. This is indispensable. So instead of love, which has disappointed us, instead of thinking that love is going to be the solution, we have to look for oneness. You don't want to be in love with your spouse. You want to merge and become one with your spouse. Love is not powerful enough to do that. Because again, love can be really selfish. I need love. I want love. I love you. Isn't that a little selfish? If I say to you, I love you, who am I talking about? Am I talking about you or am I talking about me? The sentence begins with the word I, so I'm describing me, not you. I love you. See, that's me. That's not going to make us merge into one. And if the spouse answers, well, I love you, oh boy. Now we've got a real impasse. I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. How are we going to become one? Which, it explains how marriages end simply because we fell out of love. Which proves that you were in the marriage only for the love, not for each other. So here's something to chew on. Here's something to think about. What does it mean, each other? Because that's really the problem, no? The marriage involves two people, two different people. First of all, it's male and female. There's no greater difference than that. They're strangers. They're not from the same family. They may even be from different cultures. They're different. And yet, they are meant to become one, to merge, to where you can't locate the end of one and the beginning of the other. How is that supposed to happen? So, hey, the problem is you are an other. You're not me. That's the problem. But the whole point of marriage is I want someone other than me in my life. That's the whole point of marriage. The whole point of marriage is it is not good for man to be alone. So how do you not be alone? You invite someone other than you. And the fact that they are other is exactly what you want. You don't want a clone. You want someone other than yourself. So what is your spouse, if not the object of your love? or your security, or your entertainment? What is your spouse? What is your wife? Besides what she does, what she's good for, what she's good at, besides all the benefits you get from her, what is she to you? She's the other. So what you love about her and what you want and what you need from her is the fact that she is not you. She is other. Now, if that disturbs you, you got a serious problem. If that's what you want and that's what you love, you are responding to her otherness. You've got a fantastic marriage. This is the wisdom that our grandparents had. Maybe it wasn't articulated, it wasn't really spoken much. It was perhaps conveyed in hints and in code language, because they were very possessive of their relationships. It was not part of their social life. They didn't talk about it at parties. And somehow they assumed that we got it, that we understood it, and that all we need to do is get married and we will be married and it will be the real thing, as it was for them. No, it doesn't work that way. We need to understand. We need to be able to put it into words. We need to be able to work at it. If we don't know what we're working at, we just keep looking for love, and it frustrates us. So what is Shalom Bayis exactly? Well, we'll be talking about the definitions. You have Shalom and you have Bayis. Peace at home, domestic peace. Well, what is a home before we worry about the peace? What is the peace that the home needs? So sometimes people are looking for the peace. They've never even built a home. So it's Shalom without the Bayis. This needs to be understood and solved. There's the loneliness issue that must be solved. There's the confusion. What is male? Who's the husband? What's a husband? Who needs a husband? And for what? It's not a 50-50 equal, we do the same things, only you do half and I do half. No, that doesn't work. Because then he's neither a husband nor a wife, and she's neither a wife nor a husband. They're just a mix and a blend and a cholent. No, that doesn't work. The husband has to feel like a husband, because that's what he's doing. He has to know whether he's successful at it. The wife needs to feel like a wife. She has to know that she's good at it, that she's succeeding at it, and that it's giving her the benefits that it's supposed to bring as a woman. So these are not problems that come from misbehavior. We're not talking about people who are destructive, people who are impossible to get along with. Those are not marriage problems. Those are individual personality problems. For that, you don't need marriage counseling. For that, you need personal therapy. Get your act together before you try to be married. So what is marriage enhancement? These things that we're talking about. The increase of oneness between husband and wife. And that oneness is divine. It's awesome. And should be treated accordingly, appropriately. So what we stand to gain is heaven itself, heaven on earth. Do we need it? Much more than we need food. How do we do it? Our grandparents did it. They were not angels. They were human beings. If they can do it, we can do it. We just need to have the wisdom that they had. And then we can be maybe even better, because our lives are easier. There is less to complain about and to suffer from. Our lives could be even richer and more heavenly than our grandparents. And that's why every minute we spend talking about this is precious. It's not only life-changing, it could be life-saving. So we need that wisdom. And after all, human beings always solve their problems with more wisdom, not with more might, not with more money, not with more politics, and not even with more medicines. A human being solves their problems by gaining wisdom. Wisdom, what you know, what you understand, that's what you are. So, do we have any questions so far?
Yeah. If you can't say I love you and mean it, what else can you say to get the message across?
You can say it. Of course you can say it. But it's as significant as when is dinner. And you need to know when dinner is. I mean, you got to come to the table, right? Yes, love is a function in the relationship, and it should be there. But to think that that's what makes or breaks the relationship, no. Love is not a beast of burden. It's too fragile to carry the weight of a relationship. It's the spice. It's not the steak. So you know what would be better? What would be better is, instead of saying I love you, you should say you I love. Start with you. Don't start with I. Like, under the chuppah, what is the chassan? What does the groom say in the wedding ceremony? You are hereby, and the rest is irrelevant because he started with you. I'm marrying him. Whereas in the secular world, the vows at the wedding is, I promise to cherish and to obey and to whatever. It starts with I. Every bracha we make, by the way, you're having a drink and you make a bracha. What are the first words? You are blessed. Baruch atah. It doesn't start with, I really appreciate this food. No, it starts with you, referring to God. So any sentence that begins with you is probably better than any sentence that begins with I. So it's not, I love you. I also love food. I also love entertainment. I also love my car. But you, no, you I love. There's something about you that makes it a little better.
Thank you. We also have a number of questions. So how do we achieve this oneness?
There's a part of us, and this is really very brief thumbnail. There's a part of us that is not needy. The needy part in me needs food, needs sleep, needs security, and needs love. Love is part of that package that is my bag of needs. But there is a part of me that is not needy. The part of me that can be altruistic, the part of me that can transcend myself, like when people have mesiras nefesh to save someone else, putting myself aside for your benefit. There's a part of me that is not needy. That part of me can connect to another human being so thoroughly, so completely, that we literally become one, because it's not about me. That beautiful side of us is quite neglected, not only in our secular setting, but even in our teachings. Even the way Judaism is taught in many schools, it's for our benefit. If you observe the commandments, you will benefit. So it's presented as if it was part of my needy self rather than my serving self. So we need to adjust that. We are not needy and depending on God to give us this and to give us that. We're also serving Him. That part of me that is not needy is available to others, beginning with God. So a mitzvah can be a selfish act for my benefit, or it can be an act of service. Like, do I need to avoid shatnez? I can't stand wearing a garment with wool and linen? This is not my need. I don't even understand it. So I do it because that's how I serve God. That's the non-needy part of me. So the bigger picture really is, and this is, of course, really essential when you're raising children, because we all know what's going on. Children feeling so entitled, feeling so greedy and selfish for things, and to the point where they find their own life intolerable. Give me, I need this, I need that. They become so needy, so delicate, that they can't handle any responsibility or any pressure or any disappointment. So part of raising children is to cultivate that side of the human being that is not needy. When that part of us is strong, we can survive anything. And that part of us is capable of merging with another human being. And that's why, since love is a need, it can get in the way of the oneness. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. How do you rekindle the respect for each other after it has gone?
Very good question. There's an assumption that respect is something earned. I hear this all the time. Respect him? For what? When he'll act like a mensch, then I'll respect him. In other words, respect is earned or not earned. I don't respect people for no reason. If they do something awesome, if they do something admirable, if they impress me, then I respect them. Otherwise, don't. So the first thing is, as I mentioned earlier, there's a respect just for the fact that we're married. There's a certain respect you have for a president, even if you dislike him and you think he's a total loser. But he's the president. So don't cheapen the presidency. Have respect for that position, for that chair, for that title. Your spouse, that should generate some amount of respect. My spouse, which means my life, my identity. This is me, my spouse. So if you have no respect for that, you have no respect for yourself. And that's why people get really offended if you criticize their spouse, because that reflects on me. So even self-respect should apply to a spouse. So that's kind of the minimum. The other is respect. Being able to respect others doesn't come from the others. It comes from you. It's a generosity. It doesn't have to be earned. Some people are generous with their respect. And some people are not going to respect unless you move them deeply and impress them highly, and then they'll give you some respect. So respect is not something you hold on to until someone yanks it out of you. You offer respect. It's like respecting the elderly. For what? For the fact that they're feeble? What are you respecting? It's appropriate. The respect that we are capable of is meant to be given to people in authority, to parents, to a Talmud Chacham, to an elderly person. You don't ask, what did they do to deserve it? It's a generosity, and generosity doesn't have to be earned. So if we change our understanding and our definition of what it is that we respect, how you respect, why you respect, it's like the sanctity of life. If a life is in danger, you must save that life. A hospital will go to extreme lengths to save a life. Why? Did you check out that life? Is it really that great? I mean, that's very cynical, but you don't check it out. You don't ask the person, do you really need to live, or are you just wasting your time? Because, I mean, we're going to spend a lot of money making sure that you survive, and I'm not sure it's worth it. No, we don't do that. We save life. Why? Because it's life. Not because it impresses you. You respect people because that's what respect is for. You don't wait until they do something heroic. People don't have to deserve respect. It's nice. It's nice and it's much easier when they do, and it's effortless to respect them. They're obviously awesome, but that's not the nature of respect. Just like kindness is not earned, generosity is not earned, respect shouldn't have to be earned. A human being already deserves respect. Even if you're not married to them.
Thank you. Our next question has kind of two parts. Is it still healthy to have emotional needs in a marriage? And if so, what would those need to be? And kind of to piggyback on that, isn't trying to remove your loneliness a selfish pursuit? It seems like that's a pursuit of our needs.
Good point. Yes, if you're trying to get rid of loneliness, it is selfish. But if you're trying to get rid of aloneness is a problem only because I am not enough. Why do I need somebody else? Why will somebody else's presence in my life make my life better? You would think it would make my life worse. I have to compromise. I have to make room for you. I have to consider your needs. Why would I want that? So it's the opposite of selfish. It's like the greatest humility when I say, I'm not enough. I need someone else other than me in my life. And to do that, I have to move aside. I got to make room for another person. I have to adjust to another person. That's not selfish. That is so selfless. In the same way that God created the world to have someone, and in order to do that, he has to hide parts of himself. That is the opposite of selfish. It's like saying, you make my life meaningful. By myself? No. Whereas loneliness means, I don't like this empty feeling, so I'm going to fix it by using you as company. Yes, that can be very selfish. So again, there's a difference between lonely and being alone. What was the first part of the question? I forgot, sorry.
Is it still
Yes, the needs.
healthy to have emotional needs?
No, it's not healthy, but we're stuck with it. We have emotional needs. We have all sorts of needs. And we have all sorts of bad habits and weaknesses that we would certainly be better off without, but we have them. We have them. And I have to live with my weaknesses, and I have to find a way to recognize those needs, recognize those weaknesses, but never impose them on my spouse. Never make your spouse suffer from your weaknesses. So I need to have a mentor, I need to have a Rav, I need to have someone that I can talk to about these things, but not burden my spouse with it. When it comes to my spouse, I am there to make her life lighter, easier, richer, more pleasurable, not burdened. So I work on my needs and on my weaknesses, and she works on her needs and on her weaknesses, but never at each other's expense. Like the medical vow: first, do no harm. Your primary responsibility and devotion is to never make each other's lives heavier. So if you can discuss your needs and it's a pleasant conversation and your spouse really can help you with your needs, that's wonderful. But if you're just putting heaviness on your spouse because you feel heavy, no, you don't do that.
It seems like we're also getting a lot of questions from people who are unhappy with their spouse in that they don't. Again, I know that you explained that it's not necessarily that the person needs to earn the respect, but it comes from the person giving respect. When you're in an unhappy marriage or a marriage that seems unhealthy to you, whether the spouse raises his voice or she constantly discounts your feelings and calls you names in front of other people, when you're in a place where it doesn't seem safe or healthy or respectful, how do you still in turn bring that respect out?
In those cases, respect is not the issue. You're 3 steps removed from respect. In other words, if you did respect your spouse who abuses you, would that stop the abuse? I doubt it. So there's a different problem here. Of course, there's a loss of respect, but if that's what you focus on, nothing is ever going to get better. There's something else you need here, and that is the willingness, the generosity of making space for each other in your life. He's not making space for you, or she is not leaving space for you. If she's constantly criticizing, if he's putting her down, if he's rejecting her because of her differences, because of their differences, the problem is not respect. Like sometimes a couple come and complain about each other quite viciously. And then when they're exhausted, they say, "So do we need to get divorced?" And the impression I get from listening to them is, you guys never got married. You can't get divorced. You got to be married to get divorced. You never married. You just moved into an apartment together. You never married. You were never there for each other. You never merged with each other. Actually, you should try it. You look like a nice couple if you would marry each other. So no, you don't need to get divorced. You need to get married. The marriage never took off. The loss of respect, that's a minor detail in this case. So when a husband is constantly criticizing his wife, the problem is not that he doesn't respect her. The problem is there's no room in his world for her world. This is like Mars and Venus. He never made room for her. He doesn't want another in his life. He wants comfort. He wants a clone. He doesn't want an other. Or at least that's how he's behaving, and he doesn't realize it. So the first thing that can help bring back respect, possibly, is compassion. If a husband is behaving so inappropriately, if a wife can't be civil, you got to feel compassion for them. They certainly want a happy marriage. They want a good life. They want a home. Maybe they never saw a real home growing up. Maybe they have no idea what they're doing. They've got a blind spot where they don't realize what they're doing. The constant criticism, they're just trying to be helpful. They're smarter. They know a better way to do it. Why not do it their way? They don't even see the hurt and the dismissal and the distance that they're creating. So the first thing is, if you can find some compassion, like what is the problem in your life that makes you behave this way? You want to destroy your marriage? I don't think so. You want to hurt somebody? I hope not. So what's going on in your life? Where are you blinded? Where are you out of touch that you can behave this way? Because we're assuming he's a decent human being. I mean, you married him because he's a decent human being. What happened? Now, if you're talking about real abuse, certainly physical abuse, then stop the conversation, because here you need serious intervention. Like somebody read my book, Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore, on relationships, and said, how come there's no chapter on abuse? You know, why would there be a chapter on abuse? It's a book on relationships. Is abuse part of a relationship? And besides, if you're being abused, put down the book and call the police. What are you reading? So if we're talking about real abuse, there's zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. But we're talking about the average dysfunctional couple. And the dysfunction is not malicious. And nobody wants to hurt. Nobody wants to destroy. And yet they are hurting and destroying. So the first thing is a little compassion. This person is obviously in trouble. If there's no compassion, there's no place to go.
Thank you. The next point really kind of is perfect, coming right after that answer. I've gotten a lot of great takeaways from today's class on what not to do. What are some positive action items? So I feel like that was our first real, that was a great positive action item, using compassion. Can we touch on a couple others while we're here?
One really, really essential thing, maybe it's more related to child raising than to marriage. The father protecting the respect for the mother in the children. A father who hears a child speaking less than respectful to the mother should intervene, or protect the mother's dignity, protect the mother's respect. and the other way around. Children respect their parents when they see the parents respecting each other. So the way you talk to each other, stop and consider, do you want your children to hear this? Adjust the tone so that the kids will actually benefit from hearing you speak to each other. You're modeling every minute of your life. When there are children, you are modeling. Be a good model. Even before there are children, imagine your children are listening, your future children. Even if the children are grown up and out of the house, there's a good yardstick by which to measure our own behavior. Would you want your granddaughter to see this and to hear this? If not, don't do it. So increase the dignity and the elegance. Talk to each other the way you would if everything was perfect. Imagine that you have a perfect spouse. How would you talk to them? How would you treat them? When the food is brought to the table, you take first or you give your spouse first? Every moment, every action, every activity is an opportunity to give respect, to show dignity, to show consideration. Children are supposed to carry their parents' bags or burdens. Shouldn't the husband do that for his wife? Not because the wife can't do it herself, but because to him it's a privilege if he can do it for her. Essentially, if we get right down to basics, bare basics, wives should find opportunity to compliment the husband for anything. You do this well. You're good at this. I could never do this myself. Compliments. The husband should find every opportunity to express appreciation. The worst thing you can do for a wife is take her for granted. The worst thing you can do for a husband is be better at everything than him, which makes him feel completely useless. So men thrive on compliments because it shows that they're necessary and that they're capable, significant. A woman knows she's significant. She just hates it when you take it for granted. So a woman needs appreciation. Husbands who show appreciation help their wives immensely. And wives who give compliments make their husbands' lives much, much more pleasant.
Thank you so much. As we continue on, Rabbi Friedman, I definitely want to let everybody who's on the line with us today know that there is still so much more to go. And this was really just the beginning. You did such an amazing job giving us the introduction to what is going to be a full series of 6 weeks of classes. So I just want to come back to everyone here on the line. Come back to the chat box for me and let me know who's interested in continuing on, delving deeper into these important and critical keys to building Shalom Bayis. If you can just come on back and let me know, write me in the chat box. Oh, great. I see. Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Okay, wonderful. So I do see some more questions coming in. Me, I'm interested. Okay, wonderful. Let me get to some of the important information and how you can sign up now. I did tell you in the very beginning that as an attendee today, you'll get a special discounted rate when you join. So, of course, I want to give you that opportunity as well. Let me go ahead and show you exactly what you're going to get now. It is the full course on putting your marriage first, the essential keys to Shalom Bayis. And we're inviting you to join a journey together with Rabbi Friedman for this full series of uplifting workshops with practicals, tools, techniques, and examples. In the next 6 weeks, we'll be delving deeper into the power of each spouse's role in creating that perfect balance to enhance your closeness and connection. And those classes include build your home first and then bring in the peace. How do you make a house feel like a home? Discover the importance of creating a structured environment where the roles of husband, wife, mother, and father play key components to establishing a home. Only then can you bring shalom into it. Then, kindness, respect, and shalom. Learn how to encourage and increase mutual kindness and respect and uncover true peace within your home. Followed by what makes a real man, what women need to know about men, and the significance of their role as a husband. And what is a good woman, what men need to know about women, and the significance of their role as a wife. Finally, we have Session 5, The Plague of Loneliness. Why is it so bad to be alone? Get an in-depth look at how we cure this seemingly incurable and daunting state of a relationship. And our last session will be a full hour Q&A to gain solutions to your personal questions through a live Q&A and an implementation session. Each of these ongoing live classes will be on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you joining us from Israel or any other countries around the world that are not changing your clocks this coming Saturday night, then you'll see on each of the week's classes, it has the specific time that is going to happen Israel time. So some weeks it'll be 1 hour earlier, some weeks it'll be 1 hour later. But please just, when you sign up, don't worry, you'll have it all written in an email and you can schedule your time accordingly. Of course, if you can't make it to one of those live classes, if the time doesn't work out for you, you'll have a recording available to you in your very own personal membership area. That'll be available to you 24 hours after the class takes place, and you'll have it there for a lifetime, so you can listen to it or download it at your convenience. A lot of people like to come back to the classes a couple weeks later, a couple months later, sometimes even years later, to re-listen and re-watch and take more notes, and just as a great reminder of what they're capable of in creating not just a good marriage, but a great marriage. So again, if you can't make it to a live class or you want to be able to review, you will have these recordings available to you anytime that is convenient. Plus, in addition to the full 6-week course, you'll also get a couple's guide to lasting intimacy. When you have a healthy, intimate relationship with your spouse, everything outside of the bedroom gets much easier as well. In this 4-part series, Rabbi Friedman will give you the guidance to help you rediscover desire, pleasure, and passion by developing emotional, spiritual, and physical oneness with your spouse. That's a pre-recorded 4-part series that you'll have immediate access to as soon as you sign up. Plus, you are what you believe. What you believe makes all the difference in the world. Knowledge may be acquired from life and from experience, but faith is bigger than life. It tells us what to make of our experiences. Get your faith in order through this 13-part series by Rabbi Friedman, and those are also downloadable MP3 classes that are all available to you as soon as you join. And finally, a full series on getting to like the people you love. An insightful series that examines the nature of relationships, their godly dimensions, and the secrets to getting along with the people you can't get along without. Every relationship demands wisdom and thoughtfulness. Now you'll have more understanding, guiding you towards a more meaningful family life. So as you can see, Rabbi Friedman will be walking you through all aspects of your marriage and family relationships. Plus, you'll have one-on-one support throughout this program, and we'll have the unique opportunity to get your personal questions answered every single week throughout the next 6 weeks that you haven't been able to get answered previously. Just like today, our webinars will be interactive, so you'll be able to ask any questions for Rabbi Friedman. And then don't forget that final week, week 6, you'll have a full hour Q&A. Again, if you can't make it to a live class, you will be able to send in your questions ahead of time, and Rabbi Friedman can address those during the live class so that you can listen to your answers when you have the opportunity for the recording. But most importantly, by investing in yourself and your marriage right now, you'll discover how to create an emotionally intelligent marriage that fosters kindness, respect, and positivity, rather than a relationship plagued with resentment, anger, and loneliness. You'll be able to fulfill your specific role as husband or wife by ensuring that each other's needs are being met, leading to a complete revival of your love, appreciation, and commitment to your partner. Avoid growing distant and taking each other for granted by pursuing closeness through dignity and respect. Prioritize closeness with your spouse in order to reinforce your trust and connection and escape the pitfalls of a lonely marriage. And protect the sanctity of your marriage and never feel unloved or unsatisfied again. I'm so excited to be able to offer this special opportunity to all of you as we listen to all of our members' requests, and we have created this online community for people from around the world to come and get the guidance you need and deserve alongside a one-of-a-kind mentor while staying completely anonymous when you choose. Plus, to make it accessible for everyone, we have greatly reduced our prices, and to top it off, added an additional introductory discounted rate for all attendees. So for the next 6 weeks, we usually would charge between $397 and $497. But for today, as a special discounted rate, you will get an opportunity to join as a basic member for only $297, which will take you on the full 6-week journey towards a happier, healthier, and more connected marriage. Or you can join as a platinum member for only $397 and get the full 6-week series on Shalom Bayis, plus a 4-part series on A Couple's Guide to Lasting Intimacy, the entire 13-part series on You Are What You Believe, and the 14-part series on Getting to Like the People You Love. All of your bonuses, as I mentioned, are pre-recorded, so they're available for you to listen to at any time, anywhere. You can download those to an iPod or an iPad so you can take it on the go, as well as the classes that will be live. You'll also get those recordings and be able to download at your convenience. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link right into your chat box now. Because we were able to make this such a huge discounted rate, we don't have as many spots available as usual. We have 50 spots available to get in now for the introductory rate. And you can go to www.jewishworkshops.com/shalom. And I just put that into your chat box. So as we continue on to answer questions, you can actually just copy and paste that right out of the browser and put it into a separate browser so you can continue to listen to your questions being answered. Let me go ahead. I'll put that up on the screen for you too. If you're listening on the phone, it's www.jewishworkshops.com/shalom, SHALOM. If you're having any difficulties registering, please just come right on back and let me know. Put your first name and your phone number so that I can have one of our support members give you a call. We've got Ella here. We've got Hannah here. I'd love to be able to get to you as quickly as possible. So just come on back and put your name and phone number if you're having any trouble registering on your own, or if you have any questions. We're happy to go ahead and give you a hand. And when you're in, please come on back and put your first name in the words "I'm in" so that I can welcome you to the community and have an idea of how many of these spots are getting taken up right away, so that I can then, of course, update everybody here still on the line. So please just come on back and write your first name or your initials if you're more comfortable, and the words "I'm in" so that I know that you've got your spot and you are a brand new member. Let me just see what questions are coming in. Oops, sorry. Let me get back there for you. Okay, so there's the link. I'll put that into your chat box one more time. And Rifki, as in answer to your question, again, all of the classes are going to be on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And as I mentioned, America changes their clocks this coming week. So it will vary depending on the week if you're in Israel or other countries. So just take a look at the email that you get when you sign up and register. I would love to be able to welcome our brand new members that I'm seeing here. Welcome, Sarah. Wonderful to have you. Welcome, Devora. Great to see you here as well. Welcome, Sarah. This is so wonderful. Okay, great. And welcome, David. Okay, as you continue to sign up, please come on back and just let me know that you are in, your first name or your initials and the words "I'm in." And then I'm going to go ahead and get to some of these additional questions now. Let me get back to some of these questions. Rabbi Friedman. Does it take two to tango, the Shalom Bayis stance? If one person is working on themselves and working on the key components to creating Shalom Bayis, will it work if the other is not?
It certainly will. But let me say something. Working on yourself sounds tedious. It sounds like a terrible burden. It sounds uncomfortable. You don't work on yourself. You work on the marriage. You don't change your personality. You don't go for a lobotomy. No, you are who you are, and that's fine. And if you want to work on it, that's fine too. But that's not what your marriage is. Working on your marriage means finding ways of making your spouse more comfortable, more secure, and happier. That's it. And it doesn't matter what demons you're dealing with. That's private. That's personal. So let's separate our own issues from the marriage itself. The marriage itself should never suffer from the individual's shtick. That's what marriage means. There's my life, there's my shtick, there's my stuff that I have to deal with. But then there's something much bigger, and that is the two of us. That's sacred ground. I don't bring my problems there. So yes, work on the marriage. And if one is working on the marriage, it is already better for both of you. Absolutely. I think there's actually a book called How One of You Can Make It Better for the Both of You.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I want to go ahead and welcome Etta. Welcome, Amy. Great to see you both. Welcome, CA. Wonderful to have you as well. Okay, these spots are definitely filling up quickly, so please come on back and let me know when your spot is reserved. As I mentioned, just write "I'm in" with your name. And let me get to some of these other questions here. Sorry, got to go all the way back up here. Oh, Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. Wonderful and inspirational lecture. Oh, thank you so much, HR. That was nice of you. How do you create Shalom Bayis for a blended family? For us, when your marriage is the second marriage?
That's a very complicated and multi-layered question. But all I can say very simply is your spouse comes first. And the children should know it. Your spouse comes first. That's best for the children. Putting the children first is not good for the children, because then they're not living in a real family. In a real family, the parents come first. So if you want to create a real family the second time around, do that. The spouses come first to each other. Children should run to keep up and should want what they see in the parents. I got to tell you something really significant. There are so many programs, so many books advising people on how to make their marriages. Much of it is based on modern psychology, on experimentation. What we really need is the wisdom that our grandparents had. Not something new, not some kind of an experiment. Since the 60s, we've been experimenting with life itself. It's not good. We can't experiment with life. We can't experiment with people. We can't experiment with children. We need the wisdom of Torah the wisdom that was always wise, that always worked, and that will always work. So what we're looking for is the fully established, time-tested, and divinely inspired wisdom of our sages, of the Torah, of Judaism. We're not making stuff up. This is not pop psychology. So it's different. If you've tried other things and they were disappointing, probably because it was a modern invention. It was not time-tested. Just to make you feel good about your decision.
Thank you so much. I'd love to go ahead and welcome David. Welcome SR and welcome Khani. Great to have all of you as well. Let me just go ahead and remind you, if you are having any trouble registering, oftentimes when there is a rush to the same site, it can get a little bit backlogged. So if you're having any trouble registering, or if you still have any questions, please come on back and let us know with your name and your phone number. We will give you a quick call and help you register over the phone. I also see somebody wrote that the price can take away Shalom Bayis. So I just want to remind everyone, we do have payment plan options in place. When you go to the page, www.jewishworkshops.com/shalom, you do have the option to pay all at once for the basic package of $297 or the platinum membership of $397, or you do have payment plan options as well, and that will go through just I think it's $98 or $99 a month for, depending on which package you choose. It'll even give you the dates that you'll be charged going forward. So it doesn't have to be a huge sum all at once. We do want you to keep the Shalom in your house, but we want to give you this opportunity to be able to join Rabbi Friedman as well through these next 6 weeks. And of course, if you do choose the platinum package, which is an absolute best value we've ever had. This is 6 weeks of ongoing live classes through your Shalom Bayis course, plus the Couple's Guide to Lasting Intimacy, which on its own sells for $397. You Are What You Believe is also included, that full series, and Getting to Like the People You Love, that entire series as well. So you're really getting the full gamut of relationship tips, advice, tools, techniques, examples. You've got it all when you do that full platinum package. I want to listen to this one again. God willing, we will do our best to send out a recording so that you can listen to this introductory class one more time. The introductory classes are not downloadable, but we'll do our best to get one out for you to listen to. Or if your spouse wasn't able to attend today, they'll also have the opportunity for that as well. Are the bonus items video or audio? Our Couple's Guide to Lasting Intimacy is video. The other 2 bonuses are audio, so MP3s. Okay, great. Let me see what other questions we have. We did have some questions actually that came in ahead of the class, so let me go ahead and get to some of those as well. And if you still have questions for Rabbi Friedman while he's here with us, please go ahead and put that into the question box now. Rabbi Friedman, we had several questions coming in specifically about intimacy. During our Shalom Bayis course, will you be speaking at all about intimacy, or would that be something that they should choose the platinum package for to get the full understanding of that?
We can't talk about marriage without talking about intimacy. So some of it, of course, will be discussed. It's unavoidable and it's necessary, but for the full treatment, because it's such a big subject, and trying to get the right answer and the right approach and the right words over the internet, when you have so many different people looking for so many different angles, you need a whole book on it. So yes, we will be talking about it because it's indispensable, but we can't cover it all in just a conversation.
Great, thank you. And how do we continue to move forward with creating or enhancing our Shalom Bayis when we have trust issues? This specific one says, like, how do I trust my husband again? He's lied to me several times and promised it won't happen again, but then it does.
What would you do if your child lies to you? And besides beat him up. What would you do? Certainly, telling a child that you've lost all trust does not help him become honest. Now, he doesn't need to be honest at all. So, if you give up on trust, then it will disappear. You never give up on it. Just because he lied before doesn't mean he's going to lie again. You have to have that conviction because you want him to have that conviction. Yes, I lied before, but I'm going to stop doing it because it's not nice, because it's not kosher, because it's not helpful. Doesn't even get me what I want. So you have to maintain the correct attitude, and that is, we don't lie. We don't lie. We tell the truth. And therefore, you expect him to tell the truth. Now, should you be so naive as to think that he is going to tell you the truth always from now on, simply because you said so? No. You don't expect perfection. But you do expect movement in the right direction. And that's all you can expect. And that's all you really need. If you knew that your husband was trying, you would be okay with it. So really all you need is to inspire him to try. And you don't inspire him to try if you say, I don't trust you anymore, nothing you say is reliable, and I just quit. That's not going to go anywhere. At the same time, this sounds like it might be a little dangerous. What is he lying about? That we have to talk individually. So again, none of this advice applies where there is malicious intent. You cannot make a good marriage with a person who's out to hurt you. So be careful. This is not a cure-all. This is only the wisdom for people who are looking to improve their marriage. Everybody, we assume, is looking to improve their marriage. Just different people think that they can improve it with different ways or different solutions. And if you have different solutions and you're arguing about it, there's hope. But people who are not looking to make their marriage better, that's a whole different problem. So don't be reckless. Don't be irresponsible. If there's something dangerous going on, zero tolerance. If you wouldn't let your child stay in this relationship, then don't stay in it yourself.
Thank you so much. I do want to go ahead and welcome Daniel, welcome Beth, and welcome JS. Great to have all of you. And again, please, if you are having any difficulties, I do see a few people writing in their name and phone number. We would love to be able to help you out. So please just come on back before we close up for today. Without your information, I can't get in touch with you. So if you're having any trouble registering on your own, please come on back and let us know so that we can help you out over the phone. Rabbi Friedman, we had a question come in. My wife seems to tend toward being angry and unhappy. How much is her responsibility to work on that, and how much of it is my responsibility?
Very good question. If I was talking to her, I would tell her that it's entirely her responsibility. And when I'm talking to you, I'm going to tell you that it's entirely your responsibility to help her with her responsibility, because that's what a husband does. So, we mentioned about these little infidelities of stepping away when there's a problem. Husbands don't do that. If your wife is having a problem, even with being a wife, you're there to help. You don't abandon her to her problem. You never say, look, I do my part. She's having a problem with her part. It's her problem. I'm fine. No, you're not fine. You have a wife who has a need. You have a wife that you need to help. So don't step away. Don't walk away. Don't walk out of the relationship. That's never helpful. So yes, you have to help her be a wife. You have to help her be a woman. That's what you're there for. How to help? Well, that's what we're talking about. What's going to help? That's what we're talking about. How to be a wife, what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a husband. Much of that is taken for granted, as if we're supposed to know intuitively, instinctively, by osmosis. But we don't. We really don't. And some of the things, like when I mentioned, don't call your wife from the other side of the house like you're summoning your dog. It's so surprising to hear people in a live audience, to hear people say, oh, wow, yeah. You mean you didn't know that? This is news to you? Yes, it's news. Nobody talks about it. And if you saw your parents doing it, how are you supposed to know it's wrong? So we can't take these things for granted. We need to talk.
Great. Thank you so much. We had this question as well. I know my husband and I are two distinct and different individuals. However, how do we come together on issues like discipline for our children when we have such different thoughts on how to discipline?
Well, okay, the first thing is you have to be open and flexible enough to accept the possibility of another way of disciplining other than your way. Got to be that flexible. To be dogmatic in a friendship, in a relationship, in a marriage, it really doesn't help. Dogma creates separation. So be flexible. There might be something to your wife's opinion or to your husband's opinion that you've overlooked. And it may not work for you, but it works for her or for him. If you were angry at your children, it would be terrible. But when your spouse gets angry at the children, it somehow works. The kids accept it. I want to give you a really quick but essential secret to disciplining children. If your mother says to go to sleep, you should go to sleep. Why? Why? In other words, there's another assumption that we have, and that is that parents have authority in the home. We assume that. If your mother tells you to do something, you do it. If your father says not to do something, you don't do it. Where does this authority come from? So somebody would ask, why is it that when we were growing up, we got spanked and it was okay? We don't have deep emotional scars from it. Sometimes you hear people talking about, whoa, if I did that, my father would, and it's a fond memory. And yet today, if you try spanking a child, it's terrible. It doesn't work. The kid gets worse. That's because in the past, the father's authority was there. So if he disciplined you, you accepted it because he's the boss. But if the authority is not there, then not only can't you spank your child, you can't even send him to his room. Who are you to send me to my room? So the child may go to his room, but he sits there steaming in anger and resentment. He hates you. In other words, if we have authority, then whatever measure you use will probably work. If you don't have authority, nothing is going to work. So what gives parents the authority? That's an important question. When I'm talking to this girl with her mother, and they're arguing about her boyfriend, and the girl just rolls her eyes like, do I really have to put up with you? She rolls her eyes at her mother. The boyfriend is no longer the issue. This is not a mother, this is not a daughter. The whole relationship is off the track. How that happens, why that happens, it's a big subject. But it can't work this way. If you have no authority, then you can't discipline in any way at all. No matter what you do, it'll create resentment and rebellion. So where do we get the authority to tell our children what to eat, where to eat, when to sleep, what to wear? Where do we get any authority at all? Much less the big decisions in life, like can they have a smartphone? So I'll just give you the principle. If you are confident in your message, if you are confident in your knowledge, everyone respects you. It gives you authority. Even with other adults, you're having a conversation with a group of people, whoever is most confident in their knowledge wins. When we're insecure about our own parenting skills and wisdom, all of our authority goes out the window. If your child senses that you're not absolutely sure, if this is some kind of an experiment you're doing because you read something in a book, that's not working. And again, that's why we need the wisdom of the ages, or the wisdom of our sages, so that when you say something to your child, you're saying it with absolute authority in your own mind. And when it sounds that way to your children, they give you that authority. And then things work. So there's so much to learn.
Thank you. We do have a little bit of time for a few more questions, but as we're getting ready to close up here, I want to go ahead and welcome CR and welcome DK. Great to have both of you. Please, if you have registered and I haven't mentioned your name yet, please come on back. I'd love to be able to welcome you. And of course, if you are having any difficulties, come and put your name and telephone number in. With just a few minutes left, I want to make sure that we can get in touch with you in order to help you join this unbelievable workshop that we've got coming up. Again, just to remind everyone, all of our classes are going to be taking place over the next 6 weeks for our Shalom Bayis course, and you can join that for only $297. They will be live on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, but if you can't make it to that live class or you'd like to listen to it over and over again, you will have access to recordings. And those are available to you for a lifetime in your own personal membership area, which you will get access to and information about as you sign up. Plus, if you'd like to become a platinum member, you not only get the full 6-week course that will begin next Wednesday, but you also get a couple's guide to lasting intimacy. You are what you believe, and getting to like the people you love. So that's only $397 for the next 24 hours. Please make sure if you'd like to grab your spot that you do so now. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box one more time. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/shalom. Rabbi Friedman, let me just get to a few more questions before we close up for today. Oh, and we're getting so many beautiful comments. Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. It's a pleasure to listen to the pearls coming out of your mouth and to take action. So nice. And another one says, thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. So Rabbi Friedman, I have a couple more questions here. One is, how do I get my husband to communicate and interact with me more? It seems like he'd rather be working or on his phone, and he's constantly distracted. I know he's not doing this to hurt me, but it still does.
Mm. It's interesting when people say, how do I get my husband to do X, Y, or Z? If you don't know, how would I know? You're married to him. How did you know how to get him to marry you? You had the touch then. When a husband says, what can I do to make my wife happy? Why are you asking me? Ask her. You know where she lives. Why don't you ask her? So I'm just responding to the way the question is worded. How do I get my husband? If your husband avoids conversation, obviously it's because the conversation is not pleasant for him. What is it in the conversation that he doesn't like? Check it out. Is it that you are sometimes critical? Is it that he's embarrassed to open up and tell you what he really thinks and worries about and so on because he doesn't want to lose your respect? Is it that it's too much for him, so he'd rather not at all, when a little conversation would be fine? What is it he's avoiding? If he's not avoiding you, then what is he avoiding? I know many times when a woman stops talking to her husband, it's because every time she talks to him, he finds a solution for her. She doesn't want a solution. She just wants a listening ear. So we may not notice the effects of our conversation. Take a closer look and see how the conversations have gone in the past, and what part of it he wants to avoid. And if he really is not the talking type, then fine, just sit and read with him. Sit next to each other and do your own thing, but be next to each other. Eventually you'll start talking.
Thank you. And as a question that kind of piggybacks on that one, my husband has a really hard time expressing himself when we can't be physically together. When he doesn't have the physical expression to fall back on, he tends to just avoid me altogether. What can we do?
Very common, very common. You see, he knows that you appreciate the physical intimacy, and so he has confidence to go there. He doesn't know what pleases you in conversation or just in life outside of the bedroom, and so he's hesitant. What does please you in conversation or in activities? Let him know that when he talks to you, you really love it. That when he asks you about your day and about you really love it. Let him know that it's working for you, and he will definitely do it. But if he's not sure it's going to work for you, he doesn't want to risk it. Men play it safe. If we're not sure it's going to work, we don't go there.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. We're going to go ahead and close up for today. I do still have a number of people who have written their names and phone numbers in, so we will get to you as soon as possible. Please make sure that you take a look at your incoming calls, and if you see a number you don't recognize, that's probably us. So please answer. We'd love to help you register over the phone. If you still need some help, I will leave the webinar open for just a couple more minutes. You won't hear anything or see anything, but you will have the opportunity to go ahead and put your name and telephone number in so that we can get in touch with you and help you register. For everyone else who's already registered, welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone next Wednesday for our first class. And if you haven't registered yet, there is still time and there are still some spots left. So please go to www.jewishworkshops.com/shalom to make sure you get your spot. As I've mentioned a few times, your classes going forward will be interactive. You'll have plenty of time to continue to get your questions answered. We really just skimmed the surface today, and we really appreciate, Rabbi Friedman, all of your time and expertise. If you could just leave us with some parting words for the people who are still here on the line. We've got several hundred still here with us. If somebody's still on the fence or not sure if this is the right place for them, can you help us out here?
Well, I would like to say something a little more personal.
Mm-hmm.
That for my part, I consider this to be an obligation because out of listening to people in marriage counseling for many, many years, there's no greater mitzvah than bringing Shalom Bayis. So if I do no other mitzvah and if I can't claim any other virtue, this one I take very seriously. It's life-saving, not only life-changing, and the benefits that come from a healthy marriage to the children, to the grandchildren, to the community. The whole world is so in need of the stability and the sanity that a healthy relationship, that a healthy family brings. You know, the world was always, and still is, jealous of the Jewish family life. We have a reputation that Jewish families are healthy families. And we see somebody comes to visit your home and they feel that there is something special there, and they see children who respect their parents. They're so jealous. They want it. They'll do anything for it because that's what life is. That is life. And I mentioned earlier, coming home should be the most comforting, the most pleasurable, the most rewarding thing. Just walking into your house, close the door, you're in heaven. You close out the outside world, you close out the busy world, the noisy world, the confused world, and you can relax because you are home. We've got to have that. We've got to have that. It's more important than water and food. Because without that, why bother with the water and the food? Where's the purpose? Where's the meaning? Where's the justification? Where's the excitement and the motivation? You know, parents always used to say, be gesund. You got to be healthy. Take care of your health. Why? Why? So that we can experience this heavenly life of home, spouse, and children. For that, it's worth being healthy. For that, it's worth doing whatever it takes to survive so that we can have that. If we don't have that, what's so special about life itself if there's nothing special going on in your life? So I'm committed to this full time. There's nothing else I would rather be doing. And I'm convinced that there's nothing else I should be doing. So I'm in this full time. And anybody who helps, like you're helping get this message out and get this idea out and help, I think it's the biggest mitzvah in the world. So I want to thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman, and thank you to everyone who joined us from all over the world. This was definitely the first step, although that might be the hardest step. It's always the most important step. So I'm so glad that you were able to spend this time with us today. I look forward to joining as many of you as possible next Wednesday for the continuation of our journey. And Rabbi Friedman, people are saying, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. The 6-week series starts this coming Wednesday, a week from today, Esther. So just so you have that answer. And again, I'm going to go ahead and leave the webinar open for just another couple minutes so that if you have any questions or need help, you can still get your phone number and your name in there for us. Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman, and thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.